Alright guys, so continuing on with my favorite film series, I'm going to be talking about a movie that is probably, if not just my favorite horror movie of all time, it might actually be my favorite single movie of all time. I love this film just absolutely deeply, and I saw it when I was fairly young. It had a lasting impression on me. This movie was kind of my entryway into horror films. I saw it when I was about 10 years old. I was home alone on kind of a mid-June night. It was like 6 o'clock in the evening. It was kind of sundown, and there was crickets outside, and I decided to go on Starz, where I saw, for the first time, Scream. Scream is probably the best slasher movie I have ever seen. It is directed by Wes Craven, who brought you, Nightmare on Elm Street, among many other horror films, and it's written by Kevin Williamson, who was really big in the 90s. He did scripts like I Know What You Did Last Summer, and such. And Scream is kind of the origin of meta slashers. I mean, there had been meta slashers before, like New Nightmare, and Wes Craven had kind of dabbled in it before, but Scream really took the genre on its head by essentially making a joke out of it while keeping it a horror movie. This has an all-star cast at the time. We got Drew Barrymore, Neve Campbell, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and it's just this Jamie Kennedy, this massive cast of people that were really big at the time, all of them charismatic, and it's a phenomenal film. The events of the film, if you haven't seen Scream, I'm gonna assume that most of you guys have seen Scream. It follows the kind of teenage residents of Woodsboro, this small town that has been plagued by a bunch of recent deaths. There's a serial killer on the loose, and Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell, has some kind of connection to this killer. Scream is just it's so solid and it's so slick. It knew exactly what the genre it was kind of poking fun at. It knew everything about it. It got everything right. It told you the kind of rules of the genre and played and put a spin on them in a really kind of new and unique way. And I was very lucky that this was kind of my first real kind of dark horror movie, because it set a precedent, and you know what, I can't get past it. I watch this movie 3 to 4 times a year. I love it. I show everyone I know this movie. It's just clever, and it's fun, and it's slick, and it's well acted, and this is kind of, for me, the peak of Wes Craven's career. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but I think Scream is by far his best movie. The cool part with Scream 2 is it did spawn a franchise, but the franchise actually tried for the most part. It's one of the only movies that, Scream 2 came out a year later, and Scream 2 was, if not just as good as Scream 1. I don't think it's better, but I think it's just as good, and again, it continued to play with the rules of sequels. Scream 3 was not as successful. It's not the best entry in the franchise, but it's still better than a lot of modern slashers and, 90s slashers. And it has a charm. And then, I think it was 2011, came out Scream 4 after so many years, and I love Scream 4. I think Scream 4 is the second best of the series. I think it goes Scream 1, Scream 4. This movie, it was a little wonky at first, but it got into the groove, and it gave me what was probably my favorite ending of a slasher movie, even more than the original. But yeah, we're talking about the original. The original, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to talk about some spoilers. Again, if you haven't seen it, just go watch Scream. It's a classic movie. It's like saying you've never seen Pulp Fiction. Yeah, go watch Scream. But everything from the kind of guessing game with the murderers, who you eventually learn are played by Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich, who it's just so clever and so well done, and it kind of does this thing where it makes you question who you really believe the killer is, and then in the end, it kind of spins you on a loop, and it gives you an answer that you really weren't expecting, and I love that. It's very cool. It has a cool soundtrack. And it was single-handedly responsible for kind of revitalizing the slasher genre, which at the 90s had become just a bunch of like direct-to-video DVD sequels, and it just wasn't in a good place. And Scream gave us a film that was cinematic, it was well done, it was well acted, it was well written, and it revitalized the genre. And people are still stealing from Scream. In a lot of the stuff I do, I steal from Scream. So I mean that is really kind of the signs of a classic. Yeah, it is probably my favorite horror movie. I love everything about it, and I hope that you guys love Scream too. It's yeah, no, just Scream. If you haven't seen Scream, rent it, buy it, anything you can. Watch it with a big group of friends. You're gonna have a lot of fun. It is a really fantastic movie. Yeah, I'm going to be continuing on with my favorite film series over the next couple months. There's about 15 titles that I want to talk about. Because we're moving more in towards summer, I'm going to talk about kind of the blockbusters that I love next. I wanted to get this one out of the way because I've just been itching to talk about it for a while. And yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think of Scream. Comment down below. Tell me, when was the first time you saw it? Did it have kind of any lasting effect on you? And I mean, what is your favorite slasher movie? So, as always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.